28 Days Later is the post-apocalyptic horror film that was written by Alex Garland and directed by Danny Boyle. Cilian Murphy is the film's central character, Jim, who wakes up from a coma in a London hospital and finds the capital deserted and the country has been devastated. After the outbreak of a highly contagious virus, Jim meets some survivors. The survivors hear a pre-recorded radio broadcast promising protection by the army and a possible cure. They decide to leave the city and travel north to Manchester, where they will meet Christopher Eccleston's Major Henry West and his unit of soldiers, where matters will quickly take a turn for the worst. The group leave the city and travel north in Frank's black taxi cab. En route, they stop off and enjoy a brief moment of peace and tranquility when they camp overnight at Waverley Abbey. Today, we are visiting the historic ruins of Waverley Abbey in Surrey, where we will be looking to find some of the filming locations used in the making of this classic British horror zombie film, 28 Days Later. Waverley Abbey is one of the many historical sites run by English Heritage. As we make our way from the small car park, we pass through this kissing gate. Waverley Abbey has an interesting history, and it was the first Cistercian monastery to be established in Britain back in 1128. It was the home to over 70 monks until the dissolution of the monasteries ordered by King Henry VIII in 1536. The dissolution led to the demolition of the monastery. During the Second World War, the Abbey site was part of the GHQ line, which was set up to defend London when there was the threat of invasion. The 28 Days Later filmmakers chose this location for budgetary reasons, as it was located within proximity of the M25 motorway, which was a convenient distance for filming. As we make our way along beside the artificial lake, this is where Frank drives his taxi with the group of survivors. Filming started on 28 Days Later on the 21st of July, 2001, in London. In 28 Days Later, when the group camp here, they see wild horses running free in front of the ruined abbey, a scene which has an otherworldly quality. The horses running free and untamed was symbolic, representing the natural world reclaiming the city after the zombie outbreak. During the global pandemic in 2020, around the world creatures like goats and monkeys were seen in towns and cities, places you wouldn't normally expect to see them, making the most of their freedom while humans were temporarily out of the picture. The shots of the horses were filmed from the other side of the lake, where Waverley Abbey House is located. The shots of the horses were some of the few shots in the film that didn't use Dutch angles, which are used to disorient and disturb the audience. In this sequence, the horses are filmed straight on at a perfectly symmetrical angle, which helps to create an idyllic quality. Danny Boyle shot some of the film using a digital video DV camera, because it was small and more easy to handle than traditional film cameras, which made it easier to film some of the sequences, especially when time was limited, including those filmed in London. This film single-handedly reinvented the zombie horror film genre for the global audience with its introduction of fast zombies who had been infected by the rage virus. The zombies in 28 Days Later were faster, more agile, stronger. These new zombies had their origins in video games. In the film, Brendan Gleeson drives the survivors in his black London taxicab into the center of the Abbey ruins. This part of the ruins were originally the Abbey's large church.
Here, the answer to infection. Here.
Later in the sequence, Cilian Murphy's character has a nightmare and runs out into the central area of the ruins. This wall that we passed through was part of the Abbey's church. We are heading towards the Abbey's vaulted undercroft of the Lay Brothers Refectory. This is where Jim and the other survivors sleep overnight in the film. Since medieval times, an undercroft is a cellar or storage room, often brick-lined and vaulted, and used for storage. Parts of the upper floor and the south wall remain standing. As you can see, the undercroft still has some fine detailed carvings. And the group have their picnic It is viewed through one of the cellar's windows, looking towards the remains of the monks' dormitory. You can see here that the window has an uneven stone base. The cellar was sometimes called a buttery, was used to store food and drink. The buttery often served as a distribution point for travelers seeking free food and drink, called doles. Ironically, in the film fact merges with fiction, when the travelers seek sanctuary in the ruins of the abbey. The group slept in this area of the undercroft, close to the remains of the ancient fireplace, which you can see here. A fire appears to have been lit or recreated here during filming. Danny Boyle has said that the scene filmed here demonstrated the theme of family that he was looking to create as the survivors bond together. The undercroft was also used for filming during the making of The Mummy and Hot Fuzz. Danny Boyle liked the contrast of filming in a historic location, which had suffered devastation, contrasted with the modern-day story, which depicted a very different type of devastation. While sleeping in the undercroft, Cilian Murphy has a nightmare. You can see him running out from the undercroft. This scene appears to have potentially used the day-for-night filming technique, which involves daytime scenes shot and subsequently color-corrected in post-production to create the illusion of night. We are now heading to the remains of the chapter house and abbey's second church. This grand, ancient yew tree is over 500 years old. In this scene, Cilian Murphy and Naomie Harris share a few moments together. Danny Boyle cut this scene from the film initially, but decided to add it back because he felt it was important to the development of Naomie Harris's character. Irish actor Cilian Murphy went on to great success in films such as Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Dunkirk, A Quiet Place, Part 2, and Oppenheimer, for which he won an Oscar. He also starred in the highly successful television series Peaky Blinders, where he played the Brummie gangster Thomas Shelby. When Naomie was cast as Selena, she had only graduated from drama school 9 months earlier. Naomie admitted she hadn't ever really been a fan of horror films. The scariest thing I've seen is Jaws. Producer Andrew McDonald said about the film, "It's a real horror movie based on something that might actually happen." Naomie went on to play the character Moneypenny in the James Bond film starring Daniel Craig, including Skyfall. Writer Alex Garland had the idea for the film in 2000. He said, "I had an idea about a zombie movie where the zombies ran. But there were lots of things playing into that. George A. Romero, The Day of the Triffids, the Resident Evil games." Garland and producer Andrew McDonald had worked together on the film The Beach. When Garland was on the 5th draft of his script, they showed it to Danny Boyle, and after reading the script, he immediately came on board with the project. The Cistercian monks built their monasteries in remote places. To the north of the site are substantial remains of the abbey's chapter house and the south transept of the church, as well as traces of the north transept. The first monasteries in Britain were established in the 6th century, initially simple structures. They became much grander during the medieval period. The buildings found in a typical monastery are based upon the guidelines set out in the Rule of Saint Benedict, written in 530 AD. This set out a well-organized structure for communal living for monks, centered around the church and chapter house, and including spaces to work, study, and for communal living. In the film, the survivors picnic in front of the abbey's east range of the monks' dormitory. They had scavenged free food from an abandoned supermarket Further south was the monks' dormitory, where the survivors have their picnic. It is here, by this long refectory wall, with a V-shaped broken section that the group watched the horses run past. Domhnall Gleeson didn't break into films until he was in his 30s. He had been acting and teaching in Ireland until his breakthrough. He has gone on to appear in a number of successful films, including Gangs of New York, Harry Potter, In Bruges, and The Banshees of Inisherin. The taxi was parked next to the monks' dormitory. The lay brothers' accommodation was situated to the west, where the survivors sleep. It is from here where the survivors finally depart in the taxi, driving towards the walls of the Abbey's church, before heading off to Manchester, where they will meet Christopher Eccleston's Major West. During filming, the Twin Towers attack happened in America, which added to the sense of paranoia and unease for the actors and crew while filming took place. Writer Alex Garland said, "The last third of the film is being shaped by what's happening around us." Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.